You know when you're not really you, but you don't really want to go to anybody because you don't really want to leave and you don't want to hear other people comment about how you're supposed to feel in this moment. Oh, well, it wasn't the best situation for you. You should be glad that you're. Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Alert Diaries with Tanya E. I have gone through the gamut. I got married at 21. After 11 years of marriage, found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. It was in the middle of going through the chaos and in the aftermath of my divorce, I lost me. You know when you're not really you, but you don't really want to go to anybody because you don't really want to leave and you don't want to hear other people comment about how you're supposed to feel in this moment. Oh, well, it wasn't the best situation for you. You should be glad that you're. Yeah, but a part of you still mourns. It still mourns what you wish you had. It still mourns what you thought you would have had. And just the hole that is left because they're not there, even though it wasn't best, at least for a little while somebody was there. You don't really want that, but you don't like the silence, don't like the moments of passing when you're by yourself. How do you get through those things? That's the part I ain't want to hear. I ain't want to deal with. So when you are looking at what's happening in the world, knowing who you are gives you that element of control. Because people outside of you will try to change who you are when you're listening to the outside chatter. Sometimes it affects the inner chatter. And if you don't have control over it, it causes you to feel some type of way and do some things that are counterintuitive to what you really want. So the first thing I want you to do, you guys already know me. I want you to write down some things. Here's the list that you need to create. Write down what you're good at, the gifts that you were born on the earth to give everybody. What I was taught growing up. You were born in the earth because you are someone's answered prayer. Being an answered prayer means you came here with something to fulfill that prayer. There's a gift inside of your soul that the world needs to see, that the world is longing to have. And sometimes we go into hiding with it because we don't often take the time to cultivate it. It's in the pause of life that we take to gain some insight about us. Right now, some of you may be in the middle of your pause, not quite knowing what to do with it because I didn't know what to do with mine. So I had to rediscover Tanya, which is why I write down the list. What do I do well? There's one something that you just do automatic. It just comes to you naturally. You don't even think about it, but people often ask you to do it because they see your gifting, whether you see it or not. Your gifting is seen. It is part of your gifting that sits into helping you discover your purpose. So what are you good at? What do you naturally do? Just because it's just what you do. What do people ask you? And if you're not sure, do this. Ask the people around you to give you one word that comes to mind when they think of you. That one word will often give you insight to your gift. That one word will give you insight to this other part. Experiences that you have encountered that people associate you with. Because sometimes people don't know how to define you, so they define you by your experiences. That's the second list. What experiences have you had in life? Write them down. And unfortunately, the chaos that brought us all together is one of those experiences. I did not think at one point that my divorce was the experience that would help me discover and support fulfilling my purpose. But it is. So going through my divorce, I lost Tanya. So that divorce forced me to reset Tanya. I discovered, she's amazing. I forgot. I discovered she's loving, even though he tried to make me think I wasn't. All the love I kept giving, you trying to make me think now that it's over that I wasn't? What? No. I'm clear. I got this. I am going to be mindful of my love. If I never hear it come out of another person's mouth, I know I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm giving. And for a long time, I couldn't say that. It took me 3 years to stop crying in the mirror when I told myself those words. But you need to tell it to you. You got to tell you that you care. You have to give yourself the words that people aren't giving you in this moment so that it is sealed in your soul, because that's still part of your experience. And then here's the third thing I need you to write. What are you passionate about? Even in the middle of our moments of depression, there's something that we will have that will kickstart us. It's that passion that will kickstart you. Somebody somewhere is going to say something or do something that will probably pull you out of that moment of depression. Or maybe while you're in your discovery moments of trying to figure things out again, you discover, I used to really like this. For all those I used to moments, go back and check to see if they're still real. Some of the things in the aftermath of my divorce, I used to help me rediscover, like dancing. My ex wouldn't dance with me. So after a while, the thing that I love to do the most, dance, I stopped. And after 8 years of not doing the thing that I love to do, I forgot. Forgot how much fun it was. I forgot how much joy it brought me. And so when I decided, dance again, felt like I was walking on two left feet, y'all. Felt like, okay, I used to do this really, really good, but I don't think I do it well. Do it messy. Your restart, do it messy. The messy is okay. Because some parts of us want to try to think, okay, if I put myself out there and I look stupid or crazy, don't worry about how you look. You are rebuilding a firmer foundation. When a foundation is rocky, you're already looking kind of crazy because you're not on firm foundation anyhow. Look crazy for a little while because after a while, you'll be smooth with it. It'll be comfortable with it. There'll be an ease to it that nobody in the future can take away from you. So do it. Do it messy. So when you discover your gifts, and some of it may be different skills and talents, whatever that is, write that on that first list. The second list, what are your experiences? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Write them down. The third thing, what are you passionate about? That thing that brings you joy or that thing that rouses you up, whatever that passion is, it will spur you to do some things. And in the middle of all of that, that is where your purpose lies. When I teach my clients this, I often have them draw a Venn diagram. And so for those of you that have never heard of a Venn diagram, it's 3 circles that overlap in the center. That overlap, that is where your purpose lies. This part that I want to talk to you about is what I call my next level notes. Because of the reflection that I've shared with you, death is a sobering reminder to stop letting the past take you hostage. We need to stop sweating the small stuff and stop living in some of the past pains that have caused us so much angst. He looked at me like I was crazy, but I knew what I had to do. It was time for him to go. So I packed up his things. Red alert. Is he the one? The pocket guide, The Find and Love of Your Life, tells my story. The free chapter is available for you in the link below. You don't have to be there. It is time to live in purpose, on purpose, for purpose. And now you have a little more clarity about what your purpose is. Whatever you need to give you a reminder to live in this moment, maximize this time, do it. Because the true meaning in life that you have is knowing that you don't have to do this by yourself. I've shared earlier that when I let Jesus join me on the journey, I got more clarity about who I am because it was God that told me, I know what I put inside of you. There's this scripture some of you may know. It's called Jeremiah 29:11. But God tells Jeremiah, who is Jeremiah feels the least of those around him and the youngest at that time. He says, I don't know if I can do this, Lord. But God said, I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to prosper you, give you hope in a future. God also told Jeremiah, it does not matter how young you think you are. I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. If the creator of the universe designed in the midst of your soul some gifts, skills, and talents that you will walk through experiencing and a passion to do some things so that your purpose can be found, he will not leave you alone, not to your own devices. And when God revealed those same scriptures to me, while I was sitting on the edge of my bed, one of those 5-minute moments, that's where I saw in Ephesians chapter 2, and I think it's verse 10, but it was there that I saw God says, I'm a masterpiece. When God wrote in there that we are masterpieces, think about that. A masterpiece is looked at by those around them. There's some element about it, a regalness about it. And I was sitting there in my moment on the edge of my bed because it was one of those days I just did not want to get up. And I was like, Lord, okay, you said I'm a masterpiece, but I don't feel nothing about me feels like a masterpiece in this moment. So how can you say that? While I was sitting there, and this is another thing to do while you're figuring things out, I did do one of those activities I shared with you all and start finding things that help me feel better. I started listening to different, it wasn't on YouTube, it was CDs that I bought. Now, dating myself, y'all. I am 52 years old, so there's some stuff that's going to come out of my mouth that may not make sense to a few, but I'm hoping enough of y'all understand it. And if I need to pause, let me know. In the meantime, I had some CDs that I was listening to. And I just bought them because listening to the radio was depressing. I couldn't find something on the radio that lifted me up when I wanted to. So I created a playlist of my favorite things and then a playlist of things that was encouraging. So this particular time on my 5-minute session that had at this point become a 30-minute journey, one of the things I listened to in those 30-minute moments when I decided, okay, I'm gonna sit here and listen to this, was this preacher named Tony Evans. Tony Evans, he's a preacher initially out of Baltimore, but he lives in Texas now. And he was sharing the story. In his conversation, he said that there was this man that was touring the world, and he walked inside of the secondhand shop. And in the shop, the shopkeeper had all these amazing little things. And as he looked through and he saw some of the trinkets in the back, as he got closer to the back of the store, he saw a painting. Painting really intrigued this man. And he stared at it for a little while. And the shopkeeper, noticing that the man was staring at the painting, said, "Oh, I'm working on getting that cleaned up. It'll be a lot better later on." And the shopkeeper said, "Can I look at it?" He said, "Look at it. Why do you want to look at that? It's got cobwebs all over it because it's so old. It's ripped and torn in some places. It's not even really painted very well because it's faded. Why do you want to look at that?" Then the man that came into the shop said, "Can I just see it?" So he picked it up and he gave it to the guy that wanted to see it. And the shopkeeper noticed that this man was really intrigued, even though the frame on that painting was broken and all the things that he just described in that painting. He was like, "Oh, you still like it? If you want it in its current condition, I'll give it to you at a bargain. But if you let me clean it up and get it restored, I can make certain that it's worth your while." All the shopkeeper saw was the money, but the man that picked up the painting, oh, he saw something more intriguing. He said, "How much do you want for it in its current condition?" And because the shopkeeper had already given his little conversation about how he could restore it and make it better, already said he'd give it to a bargain, he still thought, "Oh, you still want it? Doesn't matter." He named some price, some ridiculous price that other people thought for something that looked in that condition, that tattered, that torn, that messed up. Really, that's the price you want for it? But the guy that was holding the painting said, "Okay." And the shopkeeper looked at him. It's like, you want to buy it for that price?" The guy said, "Okay. If that's the price you want for it, that's the price I'll pay for it." So he paid for it. Shopkeeper wrapped it up as fast as he can in case the guy changed his mind and wanted his money back. And then he said, "Here's your painting. No returns. There's no money back guarantee. It's bought as is." And the guy said, "Okay." And he started to leave the shop, and the shopkeeper paused and he says, "Hey, why do you want that painting anyway?" He said, "You see, the thing about this painting is that when it was originally painted, it was painted because of the special beauty that already resides in it. that's not lost. Time may have made it look like it's old and tattered. Cobwebs usually give that thought, but cobwebs can be cleaned away. That's not a problem. Yeah, the frame may be torn and broken, but there's always a new covering because I already have a new covering I intend to put on this painting. Because I knew that when I shared it with the world, they would not have appreciated it. So I went looking for it. Because when I originally painted it, I knew the glory that was in it. It is still a masterpiece, whether you see it or not. I will clothe it in its new frame. I will clean up the mess that the world threw on it. Because at the end of the day, it is still a masterpiece. Now, Tony Evans didn't share it exactly like that. But when I was listening to the story that day on my bed in that moment, that's what God reminded me. In our brokenness, we are still masterpieces. And I'm thankful because I still remember not feeling like a masterpiece. But I try not to get emotional with the story, but I remember that somebody still loved me when I was unlovable. Somebody still cared for me when I couldn't care for me. Somebody still saw me as a masterpiece when I was ripped and torn because the world didn't know how to appreciate me. So I share this today to let you know that God responds with care, provision, and power. He knows your purpose and he will take the time if you want him to help you find it so that you can discover it, so that you can live it out. Because time is fleeting. But you still have so many more amazing things to do on the earth today. But I want to say thank you for letting me pour into you, share some insights of my life with you, and some lessons and strategies that I learned along the way.